Welcome into the latest edition of ESPN FC. I'm Dan Thomas, joined by Matteo Bernetti, Kate Margraf and Shaka Hislop alongside me in the studio. Gab Marcotti will be with us shortly. A little later on in the show, we'll focus on what happened in the Premier League today, particularly the North London derby. But we start, El Clasico, Real Madrid taking on Barcelona, of Real Madrid in third. Well, when it goes down into the annals of history, this won't be particularly remembered for much, Shaq, this Clasico, but another win for Barcelona and one step closer to La Liga title.
Yeah, if you're a Barcelona fan, this is it's a fantastic result. You celebrating all weekend long, but as a game, it was nothing special, and I guess kind of reflective of the La Liga table right now, that Barcelona, you expect, are going to run away with this regardless of today's result. Still, you wanted to see more of a fight from Real Madrid. You wanted to see them produce some of the football that maybe they are capable of, though they haven't produced that for quite some time. But it's a game that's going to be remembered for some of the things that we've been critical of, particularly of Real Madrid over recent weeks. No real spark other than from Vinicius Jr. And then Barcelona, who kept Lionel Messi quiet-ish by his standards, but still, the better of the two teams, and in the end, a just result.
Yeah, once again, this accusation of being dependent on Messi kind of thrown away by Barca. As Shaka said, he didn't do much in this game. He didn't need to. Barcelona still get the win.
Well, he gets the win because Rakitic is always that player that no one talks about. He almost gets overlooked because Messi. He was able to find that space, especially on that wide inside channel. Vinicius wasn't always coming back, wasn't always helping. They had their wingers pushed up high. There was that gap of space that they were so successful in. Rakitic realized that, popped himself out, and then at the right moment realized the defender had bit and they took the space. It was just a perfect finish for somebody that doesn't get as much attention, also from defenders, so that leaves him open to create something.
From Real Madrid's perspective, isn't it weird, and it just shows how expectations have fallen, that maybe you could sell 1-0 isn't the end of the world, considering what happened midweek, considering they were 1-0 down after 26 minutes. There is a big argument to say, hey, this could have been a lot worse.
It could have been a lot worse, and absolutely right about Messi dependencia, by the way. There's no need, and no hay liga, right? That's what they say in Spain. I don't think there's any more league. And for Real Madrid, was there ever really the feeling, especially the way that things have gone with star players like Gareth Bale, with the vendetta of the Spanish media against him, Marco Asensio not in the best of form, Isco being kept out of the lineup so many times. He was Real Madrid's second best player 2 seasons ago. So it's a bit of an uphill task. Add to that losing Cristiano Ronaldo and the fact that you don't really know where the consistent threat's going to come from. Karim Benzema has been maybe their best player of the season, but even the way that Sergio Ramos is defending, completely all over the place. And I think, once again, Real Madrid are just going to have to settle for one of the top 4 spots, go to the Champions League, but not win any trophies.
Let's bring Gab Marcotti into the show. Gab, we discussed with Sid yesterday the possibility that maybe Santi could be gone this weekend with a bad result. You would suggest that Real Madrid showed enough that they aren't going to make any extreme change between now and the end of the season?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, look, I don't think Real Madrid played that badly at all for what Real Madrid are right now. There's a reason they went into the game 9 points back. I thought Barcelona played a similar game to what they did in midweek, which was mostly about containment. The difference in the end, the Rakitic goal, sure, wonderful finish from Rakitic, but you know, if Stevie had been around, he would have been butchering Sergio Ramos for not for the first time, just completely losing him. I think they're very aware of where Santi is. I think Santi opened the door again to guys like Isco, who'd been on the naughty step, bringing in Asensio. Thought it was a curious decision to, I mean, I get it, no Lucas Vazquez, but still, you know, Gareth Bale, an hour of, frankly, anonymity, and then getting all the boos, and then, I don't know, maybe afterwards he's cheering himself up with some golf, but you know, there are a lot of serious structural problems here at this club, and Santi, you know, he may be on the list, but he's certainly not in the top 10.
Real Madrid in serious trouble moving forward. Just a reminder, if you ever miss a show, you can... without question, it's the refereeing decisions you feel that kind of dominated the talk after this game. Let's start, shall we, with that late penalty in the 89th minute. You say no, Shaq.
Nope.
Hey, what do you say?
Whether or not to give it?
Would you give it?
No, absolutely not. But that's going to be the beauty of VAR next year, right?
All over him. There is a shout there for a penalty. Anthony Taylor gives it.
Listen, number of times I've seen it, each time I just don't see how you can give it. Clear and obvious right now, you paint it as a bit of a grey area. For me, as I look at that's clear. That's clear and obvious that it should not have been given. Should be overturned.
We talked about this at length, Kate. It is embarrassing, isn't it, that we're in a situation where the Premier League clubs said no to VAR at the start of the season. We need more time, considering the Harry Kane incident, of course, with the offside, a big talking point as well, where it would really made a difference.
Well, today it would have, right? But there were plenty of problems with VAR. We see the Spanish league, they're having a hard time with VAR and adopting it. There's always going to be a time where people have to get used to something. It's about humans and technology and making them work together. Today, VAR would have been really important and would have changed the outcome of this game.
And VAR is not foolproof. Serie A, the first adopter in the top 5 European leagues of VAR, they did a study. They looked at every single call that was overturned by VAR, and they decided that 90% of the time, that first season, it was done so correctly. Yes, there's humans behind VAR, but granted more of them, and they're able to take a second look. But if you're telling me that 9 out of 10 times VAR overturns stuff correctly, you have to put in every league. Now that we're used to VAR, when you see a league as big as the Premier League that still doesn't have it, it makes it difficult to watch because you think of how different would the standings look. There's too much money at stake. There's relegation. It's like, granted, there's the parachute payments in the Premier League, but now with all the money in the game, you cannot have these decisions that could cost a team the Champions League or worse, relegation.
Peter Walton, by the way, will be on a Monday, and Shaka will talk about 12 matches unbeaten in the Premier League. You've got to give him the job.
How can you not at this point, right? He's doing so well. Not only that, he's gotten players that were so disenfranchised under Mourinho to now play for him and to play well. Lukaku, we're seeing his goals and what he's able to score. Pogba has buy-in. Even in midweek game, he was playing defense when he didn't want to with all the injuries. You know, he's just done such incredible things with this group of players, especially what we saw, what they were like in the beginning of the season. That turnaround is huge.
Stupid question.
Oh, well,
Wait for
ask
it.
away, Dan.
Wait
Do you
for it.
need, like United, to have a couple of rubbish matches and for them to get good again, just to be 100% sure about Solskjaer? Because we know, Stevie talks about it, when you're coaching and you're winning, it's easy. But when you go for a rough patch, that's when you really found out.
Yeah, I mean, I don't want to say ideally, yes, but given where Manchester United started under Ole Gunnar Solskjaer, and the fact that I think they have top 4 well within their sights now, let this run continue. And for what it's worth, you had a disappointing result, as you mentioned, against PSG. You had that rather ridiculous draw against Burnley. Yet still, you're able to turn this United team around. And let's keep in mind, just to put things in perspective as well, as much as as United continue to claw back on that top 4, they've been dealing with a lot of injuries themselves. But Solskjaer has not only brought the best out of the likes of Lukaku, he's gotten Alexis Sanchez.
Saying that he hasn't had any playing time, he comes on, he makes a massive contribution today as well.
I will say this, Romelu Lukaku, even when he was getting stick from United fans and from the likes of us, even when he was being asked to do ridiculous things, in my opinion, under Jose Mourinho, he did so without complaint. He gave the best that he could, even when it wasn't suiting to his talents. So it's no real surprise to see him do as he is under Solskjaer.
So, what does it all mean in regards to that race for the top 4? Of course, a draw, like a great result for United in that North London derby. They are up to 4th, just 3 points off Spurs now. A little bit of defeat yesterday. Milan up to 3rd, 1 point clear of Inter. Let's bring, shall we, Gab Marcotti's been waiting very patiently, listening to all this nonsense. Let's start, shall we, with the Rome derby. Roma's coach could be in real trouble, yeah, Gab?
Yeah, they were very much flattened. I mean, look, this comes after a period where it looked as if they'd stabilized, that they'd gotten a really good run of results. I think it was 6 wins and 2 draws in their last 8 games. But now all of a sudden the Porto game in midweek looms really, really large. Roma were just basically second best to every ball. I think they really missed Kostas Manolas at the back. I don't think he would have been caught out the way Fazio was on that second goal, but all credit, I think, to Simone Inzaghi, who read the game perfectly, who had his team in the right frame of mind, and Roma had no answers.
So, just about Roma, I still don't think that they're a top 4 team. I don't think that they're a club that spends the money now that Milan and Inter do. So if they finish outside the top 4, I understand Eusebio Di Francesco's on the hot seat because of the way that Roma have been playing, the way that they play against Lazio, which is the most important game for fans in Rome. But the simple fact of the matter is the sporting director Monchi, considered to be one of the greatest in Europe, who joined Roma, hasn't been able to create the same magic that he did at Sevilla when he discovered Dani Alves, Rakitic, so many other players. And the way that they've been spending, or their lack of spending, they're going to fall behind now Inter and Milan, who are on the way up, at least Milan is. And Lazio and Rome, I think the reality is they are the 5th and 6th best clubs in Serie A. But the question is, will James Pallotta, the Boston-based owner, continue having patience with Roma? The fact that they look so many times like they're lacking an identity, like they don't really know what's their best personnel. A lot of the players Monchi's been bringing in have not worked out, have been a bit unlucky because of injuries. So there's a lot of questions in the air, but it isn't panic mode. I think Roma overachieved last year in the Champions League, and domestically as well. I still think they're 5th or 6th best.
I just heard a groan from Gab suggesting what you're saying is nonsense.
Oh, well, I'd love for him to come back. Let's go at it then, Gab.
Well, not too long.
I'm not suggesting I'm not suggesting it's nonsense, but things change from year to year. I think you can assess this season and say Roma can get in the top 4, should get in the top 4, given what the gap with Milan is, given the fact that Inter are an absolute zoo right now. And, if they do that and they get by Porto and they are 2-1 up from the first leg, it's not a foregone conclusion. But they're once again in the top 8 in Europe, maybe more, and that means more Champions League revenue. And Monchi divides a ton of opinion. He's made some very bad signings. I think back to Schick or Hector Moreno is obviously one that comes to mind. But also, they did get Cristante. They did get Zaniolo in there as part of the Nainggolan deal. They sold Nainggolan really well. So I think you need to take a bit of a broader look there. But I agree with you. I mean, I in terms of Monchi's future, I wonder if he's already looking elsewhere to some degree, because he is one of the guys who's under a lot of fire.
Just a reminder, it's a big day of Italian football tomorrow as well. Of course, it's second versus first. Napoli in action against Juventus. That game live on ESPN+. Preceding that, you've got Atalanta taking on Fiorentina. That match on ESPN News. Mark Donaldson and Matteo Bonetti on the call for that as well. And it's an Atalanta game that, in theory, should give us goals.
It should. They played midweek in the Coppa Italia, ended 3-3. Atalanta, best fans in Serie A. You really get swept up in the atmosphere. And Fiorentina with some of the best youngsters like Federico Chiesa. I think it's going to be high scoring, and it's going to be brilliant viewing, especially for the neutrals like you, Dan. Aesthetically pleasing football.
0-0 guaranteed then. Thank you very much, Matteo, to Shaka, to Kate, and to Gab Marcotti. Everyone is staying, by the way, to answer your questions on Extra Time. Please join us. Time, an eventful show, I think, to say the least.
Why do you say that?
There is a running, of course, theme on Extra Time. Food very much dominates. Gab Marcotti and his bossiness when it comes to food. For example, when we went out with him, he wouldn't let us order from the menu. So the question to you, Matteo, is do you order off the menu when you go out?
It is ridiculous to order off menu, because if it was that good, they should be on the menu, right? Why would a restaurant save a dish only for Gab Marcotti if it's so good and not let anyone else have it? It doesn't make sense from a business standpoint, so I always order on menu.
Gab.
Can I explain that?
Yes.
Because, Matteo, when you go to a restaurant that's clearly geared towards tourists in Milan, a city you might not be very familiar with, where they have one of those menus that well, because I didn't pick it. It was late, we're there, and we're clearly the guy, it's a kind of place, it's a kind of trattoria where the guy tells you what they have that day and they order it. And for the gringos and the tourists who wander in, they have this menu which, you guys were there, you remember what it looked like? It looked like it was falling apart. And it's all misspelled and in different languages, just about as pictures. Why would you want to order off that menu? I'm not suggesting that if you go to a Michelin-starred restaurant, you shouldn't order. You should order off the menu.
Yeah, but it sounds to me like you're ordering the day specials, which are off menu technically, but still listed as the day specials, no?
The day special. This isn't TGI Fridays.
You said the day
It's a different
specials. You said the
country,
chef at the
Mateo.
day specials. I'm repeating what you said, Gab.
He doesn't put them up on a board. The guy just talks to you. He tells you what they have, what they recommend. And then in there, like, he's sitting there, you don't sit there trying to read
right,
some
next.
dusty menu and order some frozen lasagna, which was clearly made 6 months ago. Come on now.
Would you
Hey,
ever,
you want to do that? Go right ahead.
would you ever eat lasagna out?
Of course I would eat lasagna.
Oh, is it
Why would I eat lasagna?
Gab hates it.
It's because I know where to eat lasagna, and I know the real Italian places in my hometown of Miami where they make very good lasagna. I don't go to some. He'll say he didn't pick the restaurant. He went to, what was it, Applebee's or something in Milan. Yeah, right, Gab.
Gab says you're not allowed to order lasagna.
This is another fabricated rule that I'm
You
just
can
not
do
buying.
what
I'm
you
not putting any
like.
stock in that.
All right, listen. It takes time to make lasagna. If you order lasagna, most likely it's not made fresh. It's from
I
frozen.
can make it in a
That's
time
fine.
where I'd be
That's why
happy to
most
wait.
normal people make their lasagna at home. Not
Or
that
they can
difficult.
make it in the morning, like a very good
Go ahead,
restaurant, which,
I'm
by
sure.
the way, Alessandro Nesta goes to every day in Miami, and they make lasagna fresh in the morning, stays fresh all day, and it's very good.
Yeah, they make
How
it
about
for
that,
him.
Gab Marcotti?
Alessandro Nesta, come
If I
on.
ever find myself out with Mateo and Gab, burger and fries, please.
Out of principle now.
Yes,
Out
no,
of
well
principle.
done.
I'm not picky, he's picky.
Is your burger on the menu?
Why couldn't VAR be used, Shaq, to give Sergio Ramos a red card for intentionally elbowing Messi in the face? Did you think it should have been a red card?
I think it should have been a red card.
Really?
Well, could have been.
Oh, you've seen it back down.
Well, you see,
What if I say really again?
I can see why somebody looking at that says otherwise. So I don't. I mean, as much as they have VAR in La Liga, in that incident, I wouldn't expect somebody to step in.
Hey,
Agreed. Yeah. Yeah, I think Ramos also, it's his reputation, right? I
you
mean,
can't
yes,
send someone off because they're an idiot.
I think you should. Idiot.
no, his reputation precedes himself, right? So the minute, anytime he goes like this, there's no benefit of the doubt for me with him. It's like, that's intentional.
Yeah.
But that wasn't as egregious as he was on Mo Salah.
Right, you bring that up with your Liverpool ways.
Just saying, wasn't as bad as that.
Gab, what do you think about this?
Well, I think the threshold is pretty high in this situation because what would have happened here is, I mean, if they followed protocol, the VAR would have looked at it and he would have had to say, you know what? The referee made a clear and obvious mistake, and unless he did that, I can't have him take a look at it. He probably spoke to the referee and say, hey, did you see Ramos whack Lionel Messi? To which the referee would say, yeah, I saw it. I didn't think there's anything there. Once the referee says he's seen it, then the VAR has to conclude that it's clearly and obviously a red card because obviously there's no VAR intervention for yellow cards. So that's a pretty high threshold, and I can only assume that that's why it didn't get to that point.
When will refereeing standards improve?
As long as you have
Doesn't it?
humans, you're always going to have human mistakes, right? Even with VAR.
Yeah. Shaq, you're in charge of this, aren't you, fam?
I'm not in charge of this.
You're involved in it.
Referees are
Isn't
doing.
there an IFAB meeting this week? Why aren't you there?
Because I'm not on the board. I'm on an advisory panel. Anything else?
Kate, how does the US women's national team stack up against the team of 4 years ago? Will we see a repeat?
Ooh, as of right now, I would say 2018 U.S. Women's National Team. They were in such good form. They had Lindsey Horan that was playing incredible. So I would
As
say
we're recording this, they're playing England, yes?
they're playing England and
what's
they're
the score,
losing
Kate?
3-1 right now to
3-1.
England. You know what?
To who?
Lots of injuries. Horan to England, to the Lionesses. But here's the thing, is they still have a couple of months to figure it out. And I'd rather have every single weakness that they're showing, and they're showing quite a bit in the back right now, that they have time to fix it. But right now, this team is not as good as it was 6 months ago.
That was very
So hopefully,
you prefer them to be terrible now?
structured and middle of the
Always.
road.
Yeah?
I would always prefer to be found out early
Right.
before a tournament than when you get into a tournament.
The final question takes us back to food.
Oh.
And it's an Italian food question. Gab, what should I have for breakfast tomorrow morning? I'm thinking Italian cuisine, but what? Do Italians eat eggs or cereal or porridge? What is your staple Italian breakfast?
Well, it varies completely from region to region. If you're from the Veneto region, you normally have a little glass of white wine with in the morning. Those aren't my people. I don't do that. I think generally you would normally have some biscuits with. you would have some biscuits, or perhaps if you're in Rome, you might have a cornetto, which is a relative of the croissant. You generally have stuff like that for breakfast.
Can I weigh on this? So
I'm sure Matteo will tell us what Italians in Miami have. Probably involving
I can
pineapple.
tell you what Italians in Milan have.
Jackfruit.
I can actually tell you that as well, since he always goes to the same place. What I had, Gab, before you eviscerate me on this. Listen to this. Bread, jelly spread all over it, dipped in coffee. Perfect breakfast for me.
Not toast.
Toasted, no, toast. So a toasted bread with jelly dipped in coffee.
Okay.
That's my staple
You have to
breakfast.
dip it. Just
Because it tastes great. You have to try it.
Like all moist then.
That's the point of it. It's just the flavors go hand in hand. Perfect. Perfect. Gab will back me up on this.
Why do you toast it?
It's called dunking, Shaka. It's pretty. Just the dunking.
you dunk a
bread or
donut. You don't
biscuits or
dunk your bread and your toast
into a
and
hot
your
liquid.
jam.
It's pretty
No,
standard.
but you toast it first.
Yes.
So you make it.
So it can
very
withstand.
soft.
Yeah, so it can
Then you make it
withstand.
hard.
It
Yes.
can't
But it can
can't
withstand. It
dunking
can
in coffee.
withstand the moisture.
What kind of toast do you have?
As you lift it up, it doesn't crumble. It's
Yeah.
perfect. Trust me. Just trust me on this one. Go home and try.
And people say we don't deal with the real issues in soccer in this show. Eh? Should you dunk your
Life
toasted,
issues.
jelly spreaded,
No, you shouldn't.
Nesta sponsored?
Well,
Yeah,
we're going home, Gab.
That's it.
We're going off with some toasted jam
That was
coffee.
right away
That's
there.
it.
All in a blender.
Me, Kate, and Shaka. Oh, Shaka, you back tomorrow?
No.
Me, Kate, and Stevie's here tomorrow. Merseyside Derby, isn't it? Right, we'll be talking about that.